Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into what I think is one of the most fundamental conflicts in all of software. It's this deep divide that shapes everything, from how fast your favorite app feels to how safe the code running in your car is. We're talking about the two lives of code. So let's just jump right in with a really big question that gets to the absolute heart of the matter. What if you could prove that certain bugs were just impossible? Not by running a million tests, but by having a conversation with your tools before you even finish building the program. Now, this isn't science fiction. It's actually one of the biggest trends in software design today. And to really get our heads around this, you have to understand that every single program really has two distinct lives. First, you've got the blueprint phase, right? This is where it's designed and checked over with a fine-tooth comb. And then you have the action phase. That's when it gets launched into the real world to actually do its job. So that first life is what we call compile time. Now, the best way to think about this is like an architect obsessively creating and checking a building's blueprints. The compiler, your main tool here, is analyzing your code, making sure you followed all the rules of the language, catching typos, basically making sure all the walls connect properly and the whole thing makes sense before a single brick is laid. And then you have the second life, runtime. This is it. This is when the construction crew shows up and actually starts building the thing, dealing with real-world problems. The code that the compiler translated is now running on your phone or your laptop. It's managing memory, it's talking to the operating system, and it's handling whatever you decide to throw at it. So, here's the absolute crux of it. The Great Divide. The central conflict in how we design programming languages is all about this one question. How much work should we do in the blueprint phase versus the construction phase? Do you try to check for every possible problem up front, or do you leave those decisions to be made on the fly, in the moment? Okay, so let's explore the first philosophy. Let's call them team upfront. Now, this school of thought argues for pushing as much work as humanly possible onto the compiler. We're not treating it like a simple translator anymore. We're treating it like a powerful coprocessor that actively helps us build better software from the ground up. So one of the biggest wins here is just raw performance, all through pre-computation. Look at this. When a smart compiler sees an expression like 24 times 60 times 60, it doesn't even bother generating code to calculate that. No, it just does the math itself, right then and there. It gets 86,400, and it bakes that final number directly into the program. That's one calculation, done once by the developer's machine instead of millions of times on every single user's machine. But it's not just about speed. It's really about safety. By using the compiler to check our logic, we can prove that entire categories of bugs are just impossible. For instance, a static assert can literally stop the build cold if a developer tries to compile code meant for a 64-bit system on the wrong machine. We can even create custom types like meters and kilograms to make sure you can't accidentally add them together. The program just refuses to be built if you break the rules. And all of this work leads to what you could call the holy grail of systems programming, zero-cost abstractions. The idea is simple, but it is incredibly powerful. It means you can write clean, easy-to-read, high-level code with all these safety checks, but the compiler will boil it all down into code that is just as fast as if you'd written it by hand in some hyper-optimized, low-level way. This right here is a perfect illustration. In the C language, the generic sort function, qsort, has to use something called a function pointer. It means that for every single comparison it makes while sorting, there's this little bit of extra slow overhead. But the C++ version, stdsort, is a template. At compile time, it generates a whole new, specialized sort function with your comparison logic baked right in, completely eliminating that overhead. You get the easy-to-use tool, but with the raw speed of handwritten code.
But wait, that's only half the story. There is a very powerful counterargument, one that champions flexibility and, maybe most importantly, the speed of development itself. So let's hear it for Team on the Fly.
See, dynamic languages like Python or JavaScript, they push all these decisions to runtime. It's a concept called late binding, and it is incredibly powerful. It's what lets you handle messy, unpredictable data, like the JSON you get from a web server where you're not even sure which fields will be there. It also means you can write a script, run it instantly, and get the super fast feedback loop that's amazing for prototyping and just exploring ideas. And this whole philosophy is just perfectly captured by this idea of duck typing. It basically says, I don't care what your official type is on paper. All I care about is,
can you do the job I need right now? So if your code needs something that can quack, it doesn't care if it's a real duck, a toy duck, or a person doing an impression. As long as it can quack at runtime, we're good to go.
So here it is, the trade-off, laid bare. In a static, compile-time-heavy language, if you try to add a number to a piece of text, that's a compile-time error. The program refuses to be born. It never even gets built. But in a dynamic language, that same error only pops up when a user actually triggers that specific line of code, which could crash the program right in the middle of them using it. You are explicitly trading upfront safety for runtime flexibility. So let's talk about the human side of this whole thing, because all of this incredible, amazing compile time power, well, it doesn't come for free. There's a cost, and that cost is almost always paid by the developer. And this chart just sums it up perfectly. Static languages, they shift the burden to the developer, who pays that price in longer compile times and, frankly, more complex code. Dynamic languages shift that burden to the end user's machine, which has to do a lot more thinking at runtime. It's the fundamental choice. Who pays the price? The developer's clock or the user's CPU? And let me tell you, debugging code that runs inside the compiler is a uniquely strange challenge. C++ is infamous for this. It can spit out these terrifying, multi-page error messages that look like absolute gibberish. But newer languages are getting way better at this. Nim, for example, can give you a clean stack trace that points right to the problem. And Zig even lets you do a kind of print debugging where you can see values as the compiler itself is figuring them out. This brings us to 3 modern languages that are all chasing this compile time dream, but in completely different ways. You've got C++, with its powerful but incredibly complex set of tools that have evolved over decades. Then there's Nim, which gives you the ultimate power to rewrite code as it's being compiled, but that's a huge learning curve. And then you have Zig, which offers this beautiful, simple, unified idea called comp time. It's way easier to understand, but it can't do some of the wild transformations that Nim can. So where is this all going? Well, it's pretty clear it's not a battle with one winner. The future is looking a lot more like a hybrid, where the line between these two worlds, between compile time and runtime, gets blurrier and blurrier. We're seeing this really clear trend of convergence from both sides. You have dynamic languages bolting on safety features, and TypeScript is the poster child for this, adding a safety net to JavaScript. And at the exact same time, you have static languages working hard to make their powerful compile time features much easier and more intuitive to use, trying to get some of that rapid, flexible feeling back. So the next frontier really isn't about just jamming more power into the compiler. It's about giving the developer the tools to actually manage all that power. We're talking about code that can inspect its own structure while it's being compiled. We're talking about real interactive debuggers that let you step through compile time logic. And we're talking about much, much smarter tools to make this all feel totally seamless. Because in the end, this whole journey, this whole evolution, it's all about finding that sweet spot. It's a quest for the perfect balance, a balance between raw machine performance on one side and precious developer time and sanity on the other. It's about finding what's right for the project, for the team, and for the problem you're trying to solve. And that leaves us with one last big thought. As our tools keep getting smarter, as they transform from being simple translators into active, creative partners in the process, our relationship with them is fundamentally changing. We're not just barking orders at a machine anymore. We're having a conversation with the compiler. And that, well, that might just change the very definition of what it means to program.